Hi, my name is Lauren Roberge. My husband and I both attend Renewal Church of Chicago and are the local team leaders for Athletes in Action on the southern part of the city. Our vision with Athletes in Action Chicago is to make it impossible for a student athlete to come to Chicago and not encounter Christ along the way. And the way we do that is through disciples making disciples. And so I loved that vision and mission. I wanted to be a part of it. And so now I work at the University of Illinois Chicago, DePaul, and some other schools here more towards the south, Illinois Tech and Roosevelt. And I love seeing disciples make disciples, so that if you come in and play a sport here in Chicago, and when inevitably your sport lets you down, either through injury or not being the big fish in the pond anymore, coming to Chicago, that you would hear the hope of Christ and you would realize that your identity is not in your sport, but in Him. And that's just one of the most rewarding things to be a part of. And so that's why I joined staff with Athletes in Action, and that's why I want to continue on serving in this city with them. So TCP and the Church Leadership Cohort have been so helpful for me as I think about the vision and mission of Athletes in Action, but also just as a lay member of our church and wanting to serve in more capacity. The cohort was just incredible. I think first for accountability, you always say, yeah, I'm gonna invest in my leadership. I'm gonna take time to read books and grow. And then you realize you won't ever have time to do that unless you put yourself in a place where you can receive accountability and meet with others. And so for the cohort specifically, to have the accountability of meeting on Saturdays once a month, it was just so helpful because I knew in my head, oh yeah, I guess I could read a book or do this, but every Saturday would come and I would think, oh man, I don't really know if I want to do this morning. I'm tired, or I have a lot of other things I could do. And every time I would leave the cohort, I would be like, what were you thinking? This cohort is so helpful for your leadership. It's so helpful for you personally to develop, and it's a chance for you just to be poured into by other incredible leaders across Chicago. And so I left every Saturday just feeling really rejuvenated in my personal faith, but also developed as a leader. And I knew I wouldn't be able to do that if I was trying to hold myself accountable to growing in those leadership aspects. The second thing is just the connections that you make through TCP and the cohort. I met so many incredible leaders across the city who have the same mission and vision as I do about reaching and discipling people in their neighborhood through their church and through different outreaches. And so to connect with those people, you just didn't feel so alone. There are different things that we've tried or different strategies that we've worked on, and to be able to talk with other leaders across the city of what has worked for you from a missional standpoint, but also what's worked for you as a leader, what's been helpful for you to grow, what's some boundaries you've had to put in place so that you don't burn out. There were just so many times that I was talking with other leaders that it was just incredibly helpful to know that I was not alone in my leadership process and in my growing. Thank you, TCP, for all that you do for all of Chicago and all of us leaders across Chicago. The longer that I've done ministry here in this city, the more aware that I've become that we have to partner if we want to see this city reached for the gospel. And so TCP is doing that so well, so thank you. You have allowed me to understand the depth of what partnership can do to reach people for Christ. So thanks, TCP.